Hey guys, last time we were tracing the rise of Nazism in post-war Germany. As you can recall, last time we spoke, Hitler began his first attempt to overthrow the Weimar Republic. This was the beer hall Putsch. So fall 1923, he walks into a meeting in the Weimar Republic in a beer hall in Munich. He shoots his pistol through the ceiling. He finds three leaders. He says, "Unless you join me, you will die, you will die, and you will die, and also I will commit suicide as well. It means that much to me." So again, his fanaticism comes through loud and clear. The first night goes as planned. Day two, not quite as well. So day two, Hitler leads, along with General Ludendorff, 3,000 Nazis into the center of Munich, where they are pacified and subdued by the Munich police force. During the exchange of bullets and gunfire, 15 Nazis are killed. Hitler is scooped up and imprisoned. In the ensuing trial, he does get a fairly lenient prison sentence of 9 months in jail. So pretty good deal. Only 9 months in jail for complete tyranny against the Weimar government. So he gets 9 months in jail, and actually it turns out to be a fairly significant 9 months in his life. So upon his entering to jail or of jail during this period, he's going to meet a man who becomes a lifelong confidant, a man named Rudolf Hess. So Rudolf Hess, H-E-S-S, becomes his future deputy, his right-hand man, and really his closest friend over the course of about 20 years. So Rudolf Hess. We also see during these prison months that there's a sort of crystallization of his ideologies. He begins to see with a more clear focus his principles, what he wanted to happen, and how he wanted to lead the new Germany. So during these 9 months, he's going to write his book known as Mein Kampf. Mein Kampf, which is spelled K-A-M-P-F. Mein Kampf means my struggle. It's a horrible literature, a horrible message, but again, it's interesting in one way. He's going to present in Mein Kampf this idea, this revelation, this realization that in the future he believes that when he decides to take over Germany again, he needs to use legal means to do it. He needs to work within the legal framework of the Constitution to do so, ironically. So it's a major revelation he has while in jail. I want to mention right now, just do a little bit of introduction work here in terms of the current government in Germany. Okay, as you know, it's called the Weimar Republic. Within the Weimar Republic, there is a government body or a legislative branch known as the Reichstag. The Reichstag. It's spelled R-E-I-C-H-S-T-A-G. The Reichstag. It's like the German version of the English Parliament or the U.S. Congress. So within the Reichstag in the early 20s, there were 3 different distinct groups or political parties. You had 2 that were more extreme. To the left, the far left-wing extremists were, of course, the communists. To the far right, also extreme, were the Nazis. In the center, and really the leader of the party, or leader of the Reichstag, in terms of number of votes, were the Social Democrats, the Social Democratic Party. Now, as we've discussed back in class earlier in the year, when times are bad in a country, economically, politically, if there's hunger, if the economy is a mess, during those kinds of times, it allows for third party groups, marginal or fringe groups to gain more inertia. It allows them to gain more of an audience. So during the early 20s, talking about 21, 22, 23, 24, during this time period, because Germany was in such a rough place economically, politically, perception on the world stage. Because of all of that, post-Versailles, it allowed the Nazis to emerge a little bit and grow and prosper and develop their ideologies on the national level. So 1924, there are 32 Nazi members of the Reichstag out of 471. Okay, out of 471, there were 32. Not a huge number, but fairly substantial for a third-party group. So let's begin now talking about 1924 and 25. There are a couple of significant, monumental moments here that are going to impact the Nazi growth in a negative, adverse way. A couple of things happen that hurt their growth. If it's good for Germany during this time period, it's bad for marginalized fringe groups like the Nazis. 1924, we're going to see the enactment of a plan, a bill in America called or known as the Dawes Plan. So in 24, America passes a bill known as the Dawes Plan, D-A-W-E-S. So the Dawes Plan, it was hatched by a group of American bankers, American financiers. It was a plan to try to restabilize Germany and their economy. Dawes and his coalition of American bankers, they saw that, hey, it's now, globally, it's a global economy, not a national or even a European or American. It's a global situation, meaning that a wobbly, topsy-turvy, fragmented Germany with a bad economy was bad for everyone, including America. So what the Dawes Plan does, it is a $200 million loan floated from American banks to Germany to stabilize the German economy. I'll say it again, $200 million loan from American bankers and financiers to stabilize the German economy. Now, in addition to this notion of a global economy, it's going to impact America in another way. So, really the idea behind the German economy failing from a global perspective was that before the Dawes Plan, they had begun to default on their loans. They were failing to pay their loans and their war reparations that were contained within the Treaty of Versailles. So those war reparations that would be paid immediately both to France and to England, Germany was defaulting on those loans. So Germany not paying England and not paying France on the loans. Let's go back a piece. Before America had entered World War I with the Entente, America was actually helping to support the Entente effort through a series of loans as well. So because Germany could not repay the French and the English and the French were unable to repay the Americans for their earlier loans. So here what you're seeing really is a big cycle, a big circle of money. But again, once the Dawes Plan stabilizes Germany, they pay off their loans to the English and the French and the French pay off their loans to America, and everyone is happy, with the exception of the Nazis. It's bad news for the Nazis because Germany is in a much better place now economically as a result of this infiltration of funds coming from America. Now, secondly, one more situation that's going to occur the next year in 1925 is also bad news for the Nazis as well. We refer to this meeting, this summit, as the Locarno Summit. 1925, the Locarno Summit. You spell Locarno, L-O-C-A-R-N-O. Locarno was an alpine village up in the Swiss Alps, and the powers to be were going to meet in 25 at Locarno. There's different countries that were there, but chiefly it has to do with, it revolves around relations between the French and the Germans. So long-standing rivals, heated enemies, bitter rivals, However, a strange thing happens at Locarno. The French and the Germans become contrite, conciliatory, reciprocal. We refer to today as the spirit of Locarno. There was good energy, there was good vibes. The French and the Germans breaking bread in the evening, sharing hot tubs in the mountain springs. All good vibes at Locarno. Now, a couple of things happen as a result. And I would argue that primarily it all seems to favor Germany. Okay? Really, the things that come out of the provisions, the negotiations, the agreements from Locarno, they seem more advantageous to the Germans, not to the French. A couple of things. Number one, both the French and the Germans are going to agree to not wage war on each other. They agree to respect the French-German boundary. Okay, that natural border there. I will not wage war on you. In turn, you will not wage war on me. They both agree to respect natural boundaries and the border between Germany and France. That's number one. I guess good for both sides. Number two, however, definitely leans a lot more towards favoring the Germans in the Weimar Republic. Number two was this. It said that the French, who had now been occupying with military troops in the DMZ or the Rhineland since 1919, the French would begin to reduce the number of troops, occupied troops, that were living and watching over, guarding the Rhineland region. So they pulled troops out of the DMZ, which was stipulated by the Treaty of Versailles. Number three is definitely huge. You think about where Germany had been. They had been completely, delegitimized by the results of Versailles, the humiliation that ensued. It changes a little bit. A measure of respect comes from the Locarno Summit. They're going to be admitted, Germany is, to the League of Nations. Wilson's 14th point, his baby, Germany now is made more legitimate. They gain entry into the League of Nations. So on the last day of Locarno, both sides seemingly left happy and conciliatory, and there was good vibes in the air. The ministers for both sides, not names you need to know, but just part of the story. Gustav Stresemann for the Germans, Gustav Stresemann for Germany, he left all smiles, very, very happy. His counterpart for the French, a man named Briand, the foreign minister for the French, he left with smiles. We know today, at least we suspect, that he left with a certain ambivalence. So the French, post-Locarno, what did they begin to do? They began to prepare for the next German invasion, the next war. Almost immediately, within the next year, the French began to dig subterranean, a series of steel reinforced modern trenches known as the Maginot Line. Along the German border, the French began to dig covertly a series of trenches for the next war, known as the Maginot Line. M-A-G-I-N-O-T, Maginot. So maybe there's this subcurrent of discontent, fear, and preparation for the next war. These two things do hurt. Hitler and his fledgling Nazi party, give you an example, 1928, in 28 they had gone from 32 back in 24, now they have 12 members, the Nazis do, in their Reichstag. They have plummeted in their impact, their influence in the Reichstag. And then the next year, I guess to their good fortune, a global event is going to hurt Germany and their economy all over again. 1929, we're going to see the stock market collapse in America. And again, it's a global economy. In addition, the Americans are going to ask for all the money they sent as part of the Dawes Plan back from Germany, back to where it came from, to American banks to help solidify a country in the throes of depression. That's going to hurt Germany all over again. So 1930, 31, 32, These are years of great recession, stagnation, and again, social intensification. A lot of problems in those 3 years in Germany. And you guessed it, with that you see the rise of what political party in the Reichstag, and also in terms of national membership in Germany, we see a meteoric rise of Hitler and the Nazis, 30, 31, 32, into 33. So all of this comes to a head January 1933. I should mention again that the Social Democratic Party has a majority. They control the Reichstag as of 33. Now, the Social Democratic president of the Weimar Republic is a name you might recognize. If you recall, during the early stages of World War I, he was a Prussian farmer, he was a retiree, but Germany was now desperate, and they called back Paul von Hindenburg. An old man back then. Man is still old, but he's still alive in his early 80s. Hindenburg is the president of Germany as a Social Democratic Party leader in 33. Now guys, he is old. He is on the verge of senility. He's not always making very sound decisions, and that impacts Germany and the rest of the world. 1933, in January, the Chancellor of the Weimar Republic is going to resign. The Chancellor. Now, a Chancellor was like the head of the government. He was the second in command. So the President was Hindenburg, and then there's the Chancellor as well. When the Chancellor resigns, undue pressure now is placed on the aging Paul von Hindenburg from the upstart Hitler. Hitler says to Hindenburg, I should be the Chancellor. I should be the number 2 man in the government. I will be hard on communism. I'm a hardliner against Bolshevism or communism. You want me as the Chancellor, your right-hand man, your number 1 guy. I'll be that person, me, Hitler. And plus, the Nazis were rising in popularity, in power, and influence. So one of those pivotal moments in history, both in Germany and globally. January 30th, 1933, Hindenburg, the president, is going to appoint as his right-hand man the Chancellor of Germany, Adolf Hitler. The man is gone. Incredible odds. In 10, 12 years, he's gone from a professional malcontent, a lifetime loser, an unlikable rebel. 10, 12 years now, he has gone from that to now the number 2 man in the whole government, and soon to be number 1. And I'll stop right there, and we'll talk tomorrow. Have a great evening. Have a good night.